Good morning. Mayor Mike here. And in our ongoing series of informal conversations with community leaders on how we're combating the COVID-19 virus, I'm pleased this morning to have Dr. Woestman from the school district, Dan, here to visit with us about what the school district has put in place. They're doing some terrific things to help the community. And having said that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Dan.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to be here today. A couple things that I think it's important for the community to understand about the Belvidere District 100 schools is how we're responding right now and how we're continuing to provide levels of service and continuity in education services. The Illinois State Board of Education asked all schools in the state of Illinois during the stay-at-home order to continue to provide continuity of education to all children from preschool all the way through 12th grade. So different school districts are responding in different ways, but I'd like to take a couple minutes and explain how we're responding in District 100. I think the first thing for everybody to know is that it's really important for us to be providing some level of predictability and dependability during this time for students. This is a really different experience for all of us, not only for our children, but for our adults. And so the more that we can provide predictability and reliability for our children, the better it'll be. Right now, a lot of that responsibility falls on parents. Previously, children found a whole lot of predictability, daily schedules, routines in their Monday through Friday school days, but they don't have a normal Monday through Friday school day right now. And so most of that responsibility for routines falls on families and people that are in the home and spend time with children in their homes. Now, one thing that the schools do every day for children is we provide a no-cost meal for all children under the age of 18, Monday through Friday, between the hours of 9 and 11. Any child under the age of 18 or their parent can come pick up those no-cost meals at Belvidere High School, Belvidere North High School, Washington Elementary School, Perry Elementary School, and Caledonia Elementary School. There's no income eligibility requirements for this. It's a federally funded program that allows any child, even if you aren't a student in our school district, maybe you go to the North Boone School District, or you're in the Rockford Public School District, or you're in the Marengo School District, but you're in Belvidere for some reason that day, you can come get a no-cost meal if you're under 18 or if you have children under 18 at those 5 schools. So that's between 9 and 11, Monday through Friday, at both of our high schools, Perry Elementary School, Washington Elementary School, and Caledonia Elementary School. I think that's a really important part of what we're doing as a school district, because right now with unemployment starting to increase, it's going to be more and more important for many of our families to understand where they can find a reliable meal. The second thing that we're trying to do to make sure that we're providing continuity in services and routines is that we're posting, starting Monday, we're posting weekly learning activities for all of our students. At the initial onset of the mandated closures, we had been posting daily lesson plans and activities for students because that was what they were used to. And so for a student to wake up in the morning and to be able to see, hey, this is what my teacher says I should do today, was the most familiar experience for our children. But as this continued closure extends, the likelihood of us not going back to school this year and be in session for in-person instruction extends, with the increased likelihood that parents and families need some flexibility in their time and need the ability to understand how their week's going to work at a time, as opposed to having some of the unpredictability of a daily lesson plan. We're switching to weekly lesson plans or learning activities. Those will be posted every Monday night by 2 p.m. Actually, next week's activities will be posted by the end of the day today. We're getting a little bit of a head start. We think that weekly learning activities are important for families because it allows you as a family to sit down one evening during the week and say, okay, what are all the things that we need to do this week as a family for the adults? What are all the things that we need to do this week as a family for our children? How do we balance all of the different crazy things that are coming at us right now as a family? And having that weekly schedule gives you some flexibility. We've worked with our teachers to make sure that they have what we call streaming schedules, so they're able to interact with students live if they choose without stepping on each other's toes. So we want to make sure that Johnny, who might have science second period and math during fifth period, that those two teachers aren't trying to do a live stream through the internet to interact with students and provide them some support at the same time. So the teachers have a coordinated schedule so that students aren't being expected to interact with teachers at the same time during the week. All of our live streams and the things that happen live are optional. When the plans are posted on Monday night by 2 or Monday afternoon by 2 p.m., students will have the opportunity to use those live streams, to use posted office hours, to interact through email or phone calls with teachers, but they can also work at their own pace and at a time that works best for them and their family. Again, this is such an unpredictable time, something that most of our families have never experienced, and so we're trying to build as much flexibility as we can into the schedule. I think it's really important for families to recognize that learning at home is not going to be the same as in-person learning. Even when we talked about, in the past when we've talked about digital learning or distance learning or flipped instruction, where students do some things at home that maybe they would have done at school because of the advent of the internet, all of those scenarios in the past included opportunities on a regular basis for a student to interact face-to-face with their teacher. We recognize that instruction right now is just going to be different. The State Board of Education in Illinois has given the school district, actually all school districts in Illinois, some really specific guidance around the types of instruction and learning activities that we should be providing for families. And they're very different than what you would experience in a normal in-person instruction environment. First is that our youngest kiddos, the peanuts, the little kids, early childhood, preschool through second grade. So this is preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and second grade students. The teachers have been asked to put together learning activities and materials that will help parents have constructive play opportunities and social interaction during this time. Our preschool through second grade teachers have been asked by the State Board of Education not to introduce new academic content. They're saying that it's best right now to focus on the social health of the children, the emotional stability of the children, have regular contact and interaction with people, to be playing games with families, spending time with families and those that are at home. And so our preschool, kindergarten, first and second grade teachers will not be introducing any new academic content. Rather, they'll be focusing on creating opportunities for parents to have meaningful social interactions with their children, opportunities for play. Our third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers will be providing to the families opportunities to review past content with also opportunities to have social interactions with families and some constructive play. So there will be some content that will be presented to third, fourth, and fifth graders, but it's not going to be new academic content. For our middle school students, there will be a lot of content. A chunk of it is going to be new content, and a chunk of it is going to be review of old content. Teachers and teams have the ability, they're meeting virtually on a regular basis, to talk about the ratio of new content to review of content for our middle school students. Most middle school families should assume that the majority of the learning is going to be review and enrichment based on previously taught content. At our high schools, students are going to be required to learn new content. Many of our high school classes are prerequisites for classes that are going to happen in the future. Our teachers right now are meeting today, it's Friday, they're meeting today to talk about what is the essential content that students need to know and learn and be able to do as a result of this year's instruction in order to move on to the next classes next year. So high school students will be, in most cases, required to learn some new content and at minimum continue to extend their understanding and ability to perform on content that's already been taught before. Now, the State Board of Education has also asked that student grades not be harmed in any way because learning has changed here and just in the last couple weeks and will probably be different for the rest of the semester. So failures, Fs, will not be part of the grades this year. Students, instead of an F, will be given an incomplete at the high school level. Our kindergarten through 8th grade students don't get A, B, C, Ds, and Fs. The scores that we report home to parents really help parents understand how well a student is doing on a specific skill. Kindergarten through 8th grade students might not get as many scores for those skills as they would have had we not been in this situation, but we don't have conversations around A, B, C, Ds, and Fs for middle school or elementary school students. Our high school students in the past, as we've all experienced, can fail a class and have to take that class again. Because of the scenario that we're in, the State Board of Education has asked that we not give student Fs for the academic year, but rather give them incompletes. When school is back in session, students will have an opportunity to show learning or bring up that incomplete to a letter grade. If they're not able to bring the incomplete up to a passing grade by a certain period of time, then they'll have to retake the course. It's important to know that on March 13th, which was the last Friday that we had instruction, that's a freeze on the grades for high school students. Students in high school will be able to increase their grade, but their grade will not decrease during this period of time. They may still get an incomplete because they weren't able to show progress on enough of the new content, but again, an incomplete will be held over until we come back in session, and students will be able to then in person provide an opportunity for their learning. So that's some of the work that we're doing around instruction and trying to provide continuity and education for our students. I would put a request out to parents that they consider routines that children normally have during the day when they come to school, and as a family talk about how you can incorporate some of those routines into your daily lives as families. That may mean that you think about a schedule that you can put together. A schedule is a great way to provide some routine. A schedule doesn't mean that you have to do the same thing every day, but it provides some predictability for young children in how their day is going to look. Last night I was with my 3 children and my wife, and one of my children was feeling a lot of anxiety around what was going to happen on Monday as her school, we don't live in Belvidere, as her school started some online learning experiences or distance learning. And her anxiety, when we talked to her about that, was really specific to the fact that she didn't know what was going to happen. And so what we did was we sat down and we reviewed a schedule that we had already created during spring break to make sure that our kids kept doing their chores, had times for meals, because our kids will just forget about breakfast if we didn't remind them that they need to eat breakfast. And once we reminded her that she has a schedule and that part of the schedule included learning activities that her teacher was going to give her, that really helped her anxiety level. So especially for our elementary students, but definitely for our middle and high school students, a schedule for the week can be very helpful. The schedule doesn't have to be complex, and you don't have to manage every minute of the day, but it could be something as simple as, hey, everybody in the house has to be up, showered, and dressed by 8 o'clock. We're not going to stay in our pajamas all day because there's a chance that you're going to be interacting with one of your teachers on the video, and I don't want you in your pajamas. Everybody's got to eat breakfast by 9 o'clock. So maybe between 8 and 9 o'clock is breakfast time. And then between 9 and 11, you work on schoolwork. And just knowing from a child's perspective that they have a set time where they can work on schoolwork is important. Maybe between 11 and noon is some downtime, and you don't manage or tell them what they need to do at that time. And then you say at noon, we're all going to eat lunch. And at 1 o'clock, we all do 2 more hours of learning so that they know between 1 and 3 o'clock, they have time to work on their learning experiences again. In our house, at some point during the day, all of our kids go on a walk with their parents. Sometimes that's in the evening, sometimes it's during the lunchtime, and we make sure that we're practicing social distancing, but we get out and go on a walk and just in our neighborhood. And then from 3 to 5, we give all of our kids screen time. So we tell them they can't be playing on the internet or playing Minecraft. Minecraft is really big in our house, and Minecraft time is from 3 to 5 every day. A couple of times last week we had to modify that because Dad was working on the internet and needed to do some things that required a lot of bandwidth, and bandwidth is hard right now. And so when I'm trying to get on the internet and need to do something for work that requires a lot of bandwidth, sometimes I have to go turn off what I call the streaming monsters and tell the kids that they gotta take down their internet usage. So a couple of the days we had to push our streaming time back a little bit, and it was really important to the kids that we honored the schedule we had put together initially. So we still allowed them to have 2 hours of streaming time, but we just pushed it back a little bit. And then every day around 6 o'clock, we say that we're going to have dinner. That's in the schedule. And in the evening, we try to do some type of family game. We've taught our kids how to play a lot of card games that they didn't know how to play in the past. So that's an example of something that can be really helpful for students and provide some reliability as a schedule for the day. We hope that as we put out our learning plans on a weekly basis, parents and families are able to look at that from a broad perspective and say, okay, how can we work that into our weekly schedule? We know that there are some parents that are home because they don't work. Maybe they're homemakers and they're able to provide an extended level of support for their children that are now home with them. We know that some of our families, some of our parents and grandparents are home, but they're working, and so they might not be able to find child care for the children in the home right now, and they're doing double duty. They're trying to work themselves from home, and they're also trying to support their children in the learning expectations. And we know that there are some parents that are considered essential workers and are trying to figure out how to make sure their children have child care and can catch up with this learning that the school's putting out at the same time that they're not in the home because they need to go work. Our families of our first responders are a good example of families that we understand. Their children are home. They might not be able to be at home all day to provide the level of support. Our teachers are examples of professionals that are trying to work from home and balance the needs that their own children have. And so hopefully providing a weekly schedule, a weekly opportunity for learning, and one that focuses mostly on social interaction, social interaction and learning-based play activities, especially for those younger kids that are going to need the most support, gives families the flexibility that they need. We have put our plans together with the assumption that we're not coming back to school for the year. If we're able to come back to school, it's going to be great, and we will celebrate that and welcome the kids and our staff back into the schools with open arms. But it's best for us if we, at this point, start planning for the likelihood that we won't come back to school so that we can have some of that continuity and reliability of services. It's really hard for our staff if we have to keep planning a week at a time and we don't know what's happening in the next week. And so we're planning with the assumption that we won't come back into school until next year starts. A lot of the questions that we get right now from parents are, hey, if we don't come back to school, what are we doing about personal items? They want to know if they can come in and pick up personal items. Right now, picking up personal items is not part of what we would consider essential educational services or essential learning services or support. We do have on Wednesdays an opportunity for Chromebook pickup I'm going to back up. Chromebook pickup is not on Wednesdays. Everybody can, all the students grades 3 through 12 can access our Chromebook helpline. There's a phone number on the internet. I don't remember it offhand, but they can call our Chromebook helpline any day during normal hours, which are 8 to 3 o'clock, and get some Chromebook help. All of our students grades 3 through 12 have experience with Chromebooks, and we had a Chromebook pickup the Wednesday before spring break if 3rd, 4th, or 5th graders hadn't brought a Chromebook home and they needed to pick up a Chromebook. If you need help with your Chromebook, you can call that hotline. If you're a 3rd, 4th, or 5th grader and you didn't pick up a Chromebook during that pickup on Wednesday before spring break, you can call the Chromebook pickup line and schedule an opportunity to pick up a Chromebook they're available on a daily basis for the phone call, and we're giving out Chromebooks on a daily basis, but you need to call ahead of time to make an appointment to do that. It's not just a show up and pick up a Chromebook or check out a Chromebook. The Chromebooks are only for 3rd graders and above. Our middle school and high school students already have Chromebooks. They were taking them home on a daily basis, and so they should have their Chromebook. If they've left their Chromebook in their locker, they are able to pick up that Chromebook on a Wednesday. On Wednesdays, we have pickup between 7 and 6 o'clock for families that don't have access to the learning plans online. We aren't giving away extra things at the schools, so while there's a pickup opportunity between 7 and 6 o'clock every Wednesday at the school, in order to keep the traffic low and to keep our workers healthy and have the least amount of risk possible, we'd ask that only families that are not able to access the learning plans online come during that pickup on Wednesdays. Pickup on Wednesdays will not be an opportunity to pick up personal items. I have parents that understandably want to pick up maybe a pair of tennis shoes that their child left in the locker, or a pair of socks that they left in the locker, or they know that their child left their lunch in their locker. And I guarantee we're going to have a lot of stinky lockers when this is over, but we're not allowing families to come and pick up personal items from the school at this point. When the governor loosens up the restrictions, we'll have an opportunity for individuals to come and pick up their personal items from the school. That may be over the summer, or it may be at the start of the school year next year. The Wednesday pickups, again, I just want to stress, they're only to pick up learning materials that the teachers have provided online, but families are not able to access those online. We did a phone call poll around spring break that asked how many of our families were able to access the online materials and had a device at home where they could access that. And about 90% of our families are able to access those materials online. So we'd ask those families not to come to the school, because you're not going to get anything extra. But for that 10% of the families that for various reasons aren't able to reliably get on the internet, haven't been able since the plans were posted on Monday to access the learning plans that the teachers have posted, those families are able to come into the school on Wednesdays to pick up or print off the learning materials at their school. So again, this isn't an opportunity to get personal items or to pick up anything extra from the teacher. This is going to just be what's available online, but those families can't access those. This weekend, we're sending out a mailer to all of our families. It's a physical mailer that just describes some of the things that I'm talking about, has an example of a daily schedule, has maps of all of our schools' parking lots where families that might not have access to the internet can use a school Chromebook and access the Wi-Fi. It's not a public Wi-Fi at our schools, but if you have a school-issued Chromebook, you'll be able to access the internet from a lot of our parking lots. We've moved all of our access points for the internet close to the parking lots, and there's a map that has each of our schools' parking lots and a big black box where that Wi-Fi signal is strongest. The map also includes a list of 15 public parking lots that are in grocery stores, so you may be traveling to the grocery store anyway because you need to pick up food. Grocery stores are considered essential places and are allowed to stay open. So we have a list of grocery stores, a handful of them throughout the community and the county, that have good Xfinity public hotspots available in their parking lots. And Xfinity has made those hotspots free for everybody. You have to log in, and you get 60 minutes at a time, but you just keep hitting, yep, I want another 60 minutes, and you can get on their public Wi-Fi hotspots. So for families that have a device, either from the school or a personal device, but don't have internet access, those maps and that list of 15 grocery stores here in the area should help you access that. That's coming in the mail, and so everybody will get that regardless of if they've been getting our email blasts. I encourage anybody that can to go onto our district website at district100.com. Right away at the top, there's a link to our COVID-19 response plans, and they can see there some of the details that I've talked about, as well as access the weekly learning plans from their teacher.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Dan. I know that was a lot of information. We will have an opportunity as time goes on to do updates with Dr. Woestman concerning what they're learning as this program unfolds from response from parents and teachers. I think it's extraordinary, the program that's been put in place by Belvidere District 100. I wish the state and federal folks could get as organized as our school district is. This is a very serious time in all of our lives. And I think the opportunity for our children to continue learning is maybe the best news that we have right now. So thank you again, and I look forward to having you back next week.
Appreciate your leadership, Mayor.